Happy Thursday. It is my Friday, as I'm not doing a show tomorrow. So just programming note right up here up front. You're going to have to wait for the weekend edition to hear me after today. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here with the Center Square on YouTube. Get the newsletter where you get newsletters, and get the podcast where you get podcasts. Go to thecentersquare.com for all of that, including signing up for that newsletter, which is free. So we've got a couple of things I want to tackle today. One being, let me hit that again. Here we go. All right. One being that we got to take a look at what's in the budget and also what's in the tax increase bill, because those were, of course, the big things they had to get through the General Assembly before they adjourned for the summer over the weekend. A really long weekend. I'm still recovering from it, but there's a lot there. So we're gonna unpack some of what's in the budget, especially a lot of the non-government organizations that are getting funds. If you followed me over the weekend on X, you'll see that breakdown, and we'll even pull up the budget document so you can see it for yourself. But we'll also hear what's in the revenue package. 40 plus changes. It's going to increase everything from tobacco taxes to changes to corporate taxes to even trying to tax Google for digital advertising. So a whole bunch of stuff in there. We'll unpack that. And then we'll revisit a little bit more of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson earlier this week reacting to the budget that the state passed, calling it austere despite it being the state's largest spending plan with $1 billion of new taxes, fee increases, and other types of collections. So we'll get to that here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we bring you what you need to know to get your day started here in the land of Lincoln. About $1 billion of new taxes, fee increases, and collections going to pay for Illinois' largest spending plan in state history at $55.2 billion. It's a plan they passed in the final hours of spring session, and it's going to be on the governor's desk soon for the fiscal year that starts July 1st. So a lot of these changes that are going to happen that we'll review today here begin July 1st. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop. This is Illinois in Focus Daily. We're here each and every weekday morning live with you, where you can check out the live chat. Pretty lively group there every morning at 8, but you can also get segments of the show by subscribing to the Center Square on YouTube. You can also see news clips of stuff we talk about here, but also from across the country and over in Washington, D.C., and get that newsletter at thecentersquare.com. So I'm doing this segment really as kind of just looking at some of the comments and you guys out there wanting to see what's in the budget. And it's a 3,300-page document. I mean, it's pretty expansive. Let me pull it up here. This is what it actually looks like in PDF form. So this again is the budget. It's what's going to be spending your tax dollars. The language in law that says give this money to this group. So let's go ahead and pull this up. This is we'll do a little bit of kind of an understanding here. This is the 104th. At the top, you see that 104. That's the 104th General Assembly. This is Senate Bill SB 2508. Senate Amendment 1. Now, I think they did have a couple of other amendments that were just minor technical things they had to clean up. But if you go through this, you can do a Control F And let's just look up chamber, because I know the chambers of commerce across the state are getting a lot of money. So again, this is an act concerning appropriations. It's 3,300 pages long, and there's 79 instances of chambers of commerce. So like the Little Village Chamber of Commerce getting $250,000, Inglewood Chamber of Commerce getting $1 million, and these are different types of programs. And what you can do is when you find that line item, then you have to scroll up. So Inglewood's Chamber of Commerce is getting $1 million. What are they getting $1 million for? And you can see all of these different taxing bodies and non-taxing bodies, like the Chambers of Commerce, for instance. You keep scrolling up, and this is $33 or $35 million being appropriated through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for grants and administrative expenses associated with public safety and economic development. So that's what they're getting for public safety and economic development. So we can go through this 3,300 page document right now, or you can go to my X account and find my post from May 30th, where I break down some of what's in there. All right. So you've got a lot of different appropriations bills. For instance, Arts Alive in Chicago set to get more than $500,000 for costs associated with the purchase and development of a Northwest Side Performing Arts Center. $500,000 there, $4 million for Boys and Girls Club Alliance, other boys and girls clubs across the state getting various funds. $500,000 for Chicago's. Elgin's is getting $1 million. And it goes on from there. More funding in the budget for the Carter Temple Community Development Corporation, $2 million. And that's a reappropriation, but it's still in the budget. Catholic Charities getting $20 million, also reappropriated. Multiple lines for the Chatham Business Association totaling $2.2 million. You've got reappropriations for the Chicago Zoological Society, $40 million for Brookfield Zoo, another $20 million in capital improvements, reappropriations. Coalition for a Better Chinese Community getting $280,000 and a $5 million reappropriation for construction of an industrial kitchen facility and a child care center. So $5 million earmarked for that. Chinese American Services League gets reappropriations of $250,000 for window replacements. Again, you can just go through this and find all the Cup of Joe coffee. Not sure about that. $1.5 million. It's a reappropriation for costs associated with the purchase and renovation of a facility in Chicago. Dion's Chicago Dream. It's a sports team getting a reappropriation of $1 million for costs associated with capital improvements. You may have seen headlines that a school in Speaker Welch's district is getting $40 million. Back to the Chambers of Commerce, a lot of different Chambers of Commerce getting money. I mean, look at all the South Asian American Chamber of Commerce, $250,000, Little Village, $250,000, Logan Square, $250,000, the Greater Inglewood Chamber of Commerce, $500,000, Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce for job training, $1.5 million. So all of these different, and again, Chambers of Commerce are nonprofits. They are not government entities. So do yourself a favor, go through that list and pull up this document. It's, again, linked on my X account, and you can go through it yourself and see all the different line items and what those monies are spent for, what they're being appropriated for, and so on. But something else I wanted to do as well is not just look at what's in the budget, but what's in the tax increase bill, because there's a lot there. This is from a Senate Executive Committee that happened late Saturday night as they're getting ready to approach the midnight deadline. The revenue package was filed like 5 hours before midnight, so it came together pretty quick. And in the Senate Executive Committee, State Senator Selena Villanueva debating or answering questions from State Senator Don DeWitt, she said that there's a lot in this revenue package for legislators to consider in a handful of hours. I think about 43. And let me make sure I fix the rate here so it's not in chipmunk mode. I know some of you like chipmunk mode, but that just helps me quick slice and dice these segments together. So here we go.
I think about 43, 44 different items, and they're broken out into several different things. Revenue sources, technical changes, and also business development, tax credits, and cleanups that we have worked on with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. I can be more specific and going into individual ones, but I won't bore you with a long list, as I think you all have the list in terms of your, inside your analysis, but I'm here to answer questions from the committee.
And again, they just got this multi-thousand page package of the tax increases, the fee increases, and the corporate tax changes plopped on them, and the staff had to go through and find out what's in this bill and to get an analysis to their members so they can know what's going on in it. Did anybody actually read it? I think that's a question that I didn't really hear asked too much in the final hours of session, but so let's go through it. 40 plus changes. One of them, a change in sports betting taxes. So if you are a bettor on sports, you're going to probably be paying more.
Sure. For the first 20 million sports bets placed each year, the state will charge about 25 cents per bet. This applies to certain types of bet called Tier 1 and Tier 2 wagers. And after those first 20 million bets, the fee goes up to 50 cents per bet. All of the money collected from these fees go into the sports wagering fund, and then it's transferred to the general revenue fund.
So sports betting going up in taxes, increased fines and fees for environmental issues. And it's interesting how this was presented in committee.
Sure. Senator, so the EPA penalties and pollution board control fees, which is what I'm assuming you're talking about, it's basically positive fiscal support for the Illinois EPA and the PCB. And from my understanding, it's just technical changes.
Just technical changes, but it's in a revenue package, DeWitt said. It's got to be increasing revenue somehow.
It's to allow them to increase the fee through rules.
So it will increase fees. It has an attached increase per year tied to, I believe, COLA or CPI maybe. So it's going to be an increased revenue item every year. Hotel fees are expanding in this bill. So you pay a pretty tax whenever you go stay at a hotel. Now that's going to be expanded to all different types of rentals that can tax you if you rent that property for a spell.
Okay. Which is usually applied to hotel stays, is being expanded to include short-term rentals like those booked through Airbnb, Vrbo, and other similar platforms. And that just means that short-term rental companies will now have to collect and pay the same tax that hotels do. Airbnb already does this and has advocated for it. And we're estimating about $5 million to GRF and $5 million to OSF.
So again, we're going through the revenue package that was ultimately brought to the floor and passed to pay for the state's largest spending plan at $55.2 billion. So we've already heard about an increase in environmental fees, an increase in sports wagering taxes, an expansion of hotel taxes to hit things like Airbnb or similar types of operations. What about a tobacco tax?
No worries, that's what I'm here for.
Tobacco Product Tax Act harmonization. What song are we singing and how much money is it going to raise?
Sure. This is going to be raising the tax on tobacco products from 36% to 45% of the wholesale price. It includes vapes and moist snuff, so that all tobacco-related products are taxed at about the same rate. And about $5 million of the taxes generated would go to the tobacco settlement recovery fund. After that, half of the remaining money will go into 2 Medicaid funds.
So they're increasing tobacco taxes from 30 some odd percent to 45%. And that's including things like snuff, salt, nicotine salts, anything that has nicotine or is tobacco related. It's going to have a 45% tax on it now. There's also increased cell phone taxes. Yes, you've got a cell phone. You're going to be paying a higher tax on that.
It will be increasing the telecommunications tax, which you now pay on your phone or similar services, from 7% to 8.65%. That extra 1.65% is expected to bring about $49 million in the first year. And the money breakdown basically will go like this. 57.7% will go to the general revenue fund, 11.6% will go to the common school fund for public education, 11.6 will go to the state infrastructure fund. 19.1 will go to the new 988 trust fund for suicide prevention. And again, only the extra money from the tax increase will go to the new trust fund. No existing funding for other programs will be cut or changed.
So you're going to be paying more for tobacco products, yes, including nicotine gum. You're going to be paying more for your cell phone. Retailers are going to have to figure out their tax situation and probably paying a tax attorney a little bit more money so they can figure out how to deal with whether or not they owe the state of Illinois any money. Here's a change in how retailers, especially out of states, are going to be impacted.
Yes, if a business outside of Illinois sells about $100,000 or more worth of physical goods to people in Illinois, it has to collect Illinois sales tax, even if it doesn't have a store in the state of Illinois. Also, online platforms like Amazon or Etsy that sell $100,000 or more worth of goods to Illinois customers are treated as the seller and must collect and send in the sales tax for every item sold through their site.
And yes, even nicotine pouches are going to be taxed as well. The nicotine salts. Anyway, so more corporate changes, more changes to how consumers are interacting with their cell phones if they're doing sports betting, but even more changes coming to corporations as well. And this idea of a Finnegan rule versus a Joyce rule, and then you start really understanding how tough it is to be a business when you've got these different types of tax schemes and structures that are being set up across the country in different states.
So if one company in the group sells into Illinois but doesn't have any employees, offices, or other presence there, Illinois can't tax those sales. Under Finnegan, any company in a group that does business in a state, then all sales made by any company in the group to that state are taxable, even if the company making the sale has no presence there. So the whole corporate group is treated like one taxpayer. This means more of their income can be taxed. Illinois currently uses the Joyce rule, which results in lower corporate taxes. And if the state switches to the Finnegan rule, it would collect more corporate tax money.
What's the projected income? My fear is that could have the potential of limiting corporations to even wanting to come to Illinois and doing business.
The projection is about 72 million GRF.
So again, these corporate changes already signaling a flag to some, saying it's just going to be more of the same for corporations in Illinois. They already pay among the highest taxes in the state. Property taxes are out of control. Nothing was done about that. You can just go through the bullet points of all of the extra costs on corporations in Illinois. And what that does is it, according to Republicans and some economists, it limits that corporation's willingness to invest in the states, therefore not creating more jobs. And they may go to Indiana or Missouri or Kentucky or other neighboring states. So those changes are coming as part of this budget. And then you get into another tax that was talked about, how broad of a tax it would have been, an ad tax, a digital ad tax. But this one, as it was proposed in committee before it passed, deals with the likes of Google.
Creates a 10% tax on digital advertising revenue, but only for companies making more than $150 million a year from those ads. And it targets large tech companies like Google or Meta, similar to Maryland's digital ad tax, which is under legal challenge. And so our reasoning is that for January 1, 2027 starting date, there's currently pending litigation in Maryland on their digital ad tax, and a start date in 2027 allows the pending litigation time to settle and allows Illinois to make necessary amendments to abide by the results of the litigation.
Great, appreciate that.
Lots of taxes, lots of changes, and it's all to pay for the state's most expensive spending plan in state history. Just continues to go up and up and up and up and up, all during the Pritzker administration, with more taxes to go around. That is going to be on the governor's desk soon. The budget bill, the tax increase bill, the budget implementation bill that also gives legislators an annual raise, so they didn't freeze that raise for legislators. That could be $5,000+ of increases. So you've got all that in the mix. It's on going to be heading soon to Governor J.B. Pritzker, who expected to sign it. We'll see what happens in the days ahead. If you want to stay up to date, it's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, editor for Illinois. I'm on the ground at the Capitol when they're in session, bringing you the latest and tracking all of this so that you can get on with your day and be informed as to what's going on at your state house.
I actually believe that more and more people are going to begin to experience the failures of this administration at the federal level, but it's going to take a collective response of working people across this country to stand up to this tyrannical administration.
Maybe the sinister man, orange man bad, made you put the 20 million in for the South Side organizing project. Wow. This night just keeps getting more and more amazing. I can't. Oh, wait, hang on. I bet Donald Trump called the mayor of Chicago and asked him to tax everybody in Illinois.
That's just some of the back and forth in the aftermath of Illinois passing the state's largest spending plan in state history, with tax increases, fee increases, and corporate tax changes and the like. And the reaction continues. Earlier this week, we did hear some of what Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson had to say about the failure of the state legislature to pass a bill consolidating mass transit in the Chicagoland area and providing for a $1.50 tax increase on retail delivery. Now, that measure did not pass. So you may be seeing some people on social media saying, hey, they're going to start taxing your retail deliveries $1.50 a piece. That did not pass. Now, could they still bring it up in summer? Yes, they could call a special session because it's a $700 and some odd million fiscal cliff that mass transit's facing, and they're going to be looking at possible service cuts or fee increases for those who actually use mass transit. But they could do that this summer. They could come back for fall session and do that as well. So it's still out there and could happen, but it didn't pass before they adjourned for summer. So if you see stuff saying, hey, you're going to be taxed $1.50 on retail delivery, that did not advance. But the budget did. The tax increase bill did. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson earlier this week talking about the budget, which again is the most expensive state budget in state history that increases taxes. Here's what he had to say about that.
This budget was austere. There are budgetary challenges all over the country, and we're faced with that because we do have a great deal of uncertainty and, quite frankly, animosity that's coming from the federal government. Those are all complicated matters that have made this effort a bit more challenging. And yes, we have to get this right, and we have to do it with some expediency.
So again, the budget is austere, he said, an austere budget. And even the governor and others said that they had cut in the budget. Well, they may have reduced the amount being spent from the governor's proposed budget in February, but it's definitely not cutting from last year. It's $2 billion more expensive than last year. It's like $15 billion more expensive than when the governor took office. So it's the most expensive budget plan in state history at $55.2 billion. I don't know if you can call that austere. But again, the mayor saying that it's the Trump administration and the possibility of withholding funds that could impact the state budget, and they needed to get through it with some quickness. But then again, the mayor said that the Trump administration is being tyrannical.
I actually believe that more and more people are going to begin to experience the failures of this administration at the federal level, but it's going to take a collective response of working people across this country to stand up to this tyrannical administration.
So he calls it a tyrannical administration, and we heard Democrats as well on the House floor and on the Senate floor pointing to a tough budget year, saying that the Trump administration is really kind of the impetus of it being, quote, a tough budget year, the need for making tough decisions to increase line items here, decrease them there, to increase taxes here and such. Republican State Senator Chapin Rose on the Senate floor wasn't buying it.
Maybe the sinister man, orange man bad, made you put the 20 million in for the South Side organizing project. Wow. This night just keeps getting more and more amazing. I can't. Oh, wait, hang on. I bet Donald Trump called the mayor of Chicago and asked him to tax everybody in Illinois. Is that, can we get a confirmation? We'll call Steve Miller to say, yep, you got to do this, Mr. Mayor, you got to do it. Think about what you are doing. Think about it. Every mom who is late at work with a newborn at home, taxed. Every senior citizen who can't go out of the house, taxed.
And again, this was a debate around the transit bill that would have increased that $1.50 tax on the retail delivery industry. And it would have even had in the bill that the retail delivery industry could not put that charge on the receipt for the customer. So they were trying to hide that receipt item, $1.50. So it would just be handed into an overall general fee increase, I guess. But that didn't pass. Again, I want to make sure people understand that $1.50 charge per retail delivery did not pass. What did pass in the revenue bill, which was a standalone revenue bill, not part of the transit consolidation. I mean, you had increased, cell phone taxes, increased tobacco taxes, increased sports wagering taxes, changes to corporate taxes, changes to retail taxes if they are outside the state, a whole bunch of things. But again, not that $1.50 retail delivery charge that would have gone to the transit issue. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson talked about revenue and how he is always looking for what he calls progressive revenue.
These are, individuals that have done exceptionally well. And I know there's been some conversations about a millionaire's tax and other forms of progressive taxation that challenges the ultra rich to pay their fair share. As far as some of these other, ideas that don't get at what I want us to get at, which is to challenge the ultra wealthy in this state to pay more. I have not taken a firm position, and I just think that it's important that, we come up with solutions that are sustainable and that they don't overwhelm, the pocketbooks of working people.
So he didn't necessarily take a position on that retail delivery tax. Instead, he wants to talk more about, and as he has for months and months, and probably since before he ran for Chicago mayor, that he wants a tax on millionaires. He wants a tax on the ultra rich, he says. But when you get down to brass tacks here, of course, Chicago's hurting with its budget and did not necessarily get everything it wanted in the state budget for Chicago. But Chicago alder people are pointing out that the city has really kind of just neglected to really address the issues of its spending and being on the ball. Alderman Scott Wagaspak, he offered a take of, where some aldermen feel they're at in this process of taxing and spending and responsible management of the public trust.
We are behind the eight ball in part because of management. We have seen the mayor fail to get down to Springfield in a timely manner and once again miss the boat on finding those revenue sources that we are going to need as a city to close this $980 million budget gap.
And again, that's for the city of Chicago, and they're facing close to $1 billion budget gap. Alderman Anthony Beal also saying that the city is spending too much, and they tried to get city officials to ratchet back spending.
We know that there's a lot of fluff and a lot of fat, and we didn't look to do any of those cuts and efficiencies as we were pushing forward, and that really put us in that position. So I don't think it's really, I don't know if it's strategic, but you guys are trying to shift the blame on the city council for the downgrade instead of accepting the responsibility for the budget that was presented.
So the city of Chicago going to have to deal with their $1 billion budget deficit after the state passes its most expensive spending plan with about $1 billion in tax increases and fee increases and collections. There's a lot there, and we just scratched the surface. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. And just a programming note, I am off Friday, so have yourself a great weekend. that's all I got for you guys. Greatly appreciate all the activity in the chat room. My gosh, more than 200 concurrent viewers. That's pretty good. But we'll have to do some more deep dives into all of the different bills they passed, 430 plus, if not more. Of course, the governor's going to sign the budget sometime soon once it gets transmitted to his desk, and the revenue bill he's going to sign soon. Or is he going to do some line item vetoes? I don't know. It could be an interesting summer with the possibility of legislators having to come back for some action to react to what happens in Washington, D.C. But then you got fall veto session, so there's going to be plenty for us to continue to talk about all throughout the summer. And also getting ready for elections next year. Holy cow, I know I said it. Whew. Believe it or not, never ends. And I think an old news saying is, news never sleeps, and neither do we. So here we go. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. Go to any podcast place and search Illinois in Focus, and you can listen to us while you're driving around this summer. All right, have a great weekend. I'm off Friday. We'll see you back here Monday morning for more Illinois in Focus Daily.